I picked up a broken iPod because I want to find out if it's better than using streaming like some people claim. But first, I have to fix it up. How's it? My name is Hugh, and in this video, I'm going to show you every step of the process of converting this trashed 20+ year old device into an iPod that's many times better than when it was brand new. Now, I don't know if this one actually works or not, but one way or another, I'm going to build the iPod that I've always wanted and show you how you can do this too. This is the iPod I'm going to be fixing up. This is the 60 gig model, 5th generation. I got this model because it has 64 megabytes of RAM. I don't know if I'm going to need that much, but it's good to have anyway, just in case I might need it in the future. Now there's quite a bit of things wrong with this. If most people found this iPod, they would probably throw it away because they think it doesn't work, but it's actually in decent shape. So I'll take you through what's wrong with it before I start to fix it. So first of all, the faceplate is pretty damaged. There's some sticker marks here, a lot of scratches, a bunch of cracking up here. It has a broken dock bezel on the bottom, as you can see there. And the back is pretty scratched up. Another problem with this iPod is the center button doesn't work. So when I click on that, it's flat, and that's a pretty common thing also, and that's also fixable. And when I turn it on, I get this screen and I hear a clicking noise. So that means the hard drive is not good anymore. And like I mentioned before, I am going to turn this thick back into a thin back. So I also got another iPod with a thin back. So that's going to give me some parts that I need to refurbish the 60 gig iPod, but I'm also going to have to get a bunch of new stuff. Now here are the parts that I bought for this build. I got this stuff from Amazon, Elite Obsolete Electronics, and iFlash. I bought this with my own money, and none of this is sponsored. Now I'm going to start off with the star of the show, and that's the iFlash Quad. This is going to replace the physical hard drive inside of the iPod and allow me to use SD cards instead. This will make it more energy efficient, faster, and allow me to store more songs. So I can use up to 1, 2, 3, 4 micro SD cards on this card, which is fantastic. I'm only going to use one for 512, but I could theoretically go up to 2 terabytes. This is going to save a lot of space also and shave a lot of weight. Next up is the click wheel, and I decided to go with blue with a white center button. That's going to be the theme for this iPod, and I think it's really going to pop and make it look good. Sticking with the same theme, I decided to go with the blue backplate because I think that looks fantastic. I got the one without the branding on it. You can get the one that says iPod and all that, but I prefer my stuff not be heavily branded or have a lot of markings or tags on it. So I think this is going to make it look really clean and really nice. As for the battery, I decided to go for a 3800 milliamp hour battery, and this is going to be significantly bigger than the 850 milliamp hour battery that was originally in this 60 gig iPod. So I'm going to get a lot more listening time with this brand new battery. As I mentioned before, and you have seen already, I'm going to go with a 512 gigabyte Samsung micro SD card. This one has transfer speeds of up to 160 megabytes per second. As you have probably guessed, I went with the white faceplate because I think that's going to look fantastic with that blue back. After that, I went on Amazon and I got one of these clear plastic protectors for the outside of the iPod. This is going to protect it from fingerprints and scratches that you see on a lot of iPods. I found out that you can only get these clear plastic protectors for the thin back iPods. Now, a company did make them for the thicker back iPods, but they're really hard to find, and if you do find them somewhere, they'll be super expensive. I think somebody was trying to get like $30 per case for this, for the thick back. So the thin back is the way to go if you want to use these clear plastic protectors. Then of course I didn't have a cable, so I had to go on Amazon and get one of these 30-pin cables. This one has a USB-C plug on this side, so it's much more convenient for modern devices. It's very rugged, it's much more durable than the stock iPod cable, so this should last a long time. And last but not least is this metal opening tool, and I actually didn't order this, they threw it in with my order, so thank you very much for that, guys. All right, let's get into this. The first step is to take the metal opening tool and then put it on the edge between the screen and the back plate and gently start to work at it like this. You can see it'll start to come apart, but don't pull it apart immediately because there are some cables in here that are attached, so you don't want to break those cables. So just open it up slowly, go around it, and just get it so that it's cracked open on all sides. And a quick tip when you're doing this, put the tool in straight and then push it towards the back plate, and that'll pop out the little clips on the faceplate, and that'll make it easier to take it apart. All right, once you get the faceplate and the back plate separated, you want to move the back plate a little bit to the side, and there will be this little clip here that keeps the battery ribbon cable in place. You want to just gently pull up on this little brown tab, and that will detach the battery cable, and you can just pull it out like that. All right, once you've detached this cable here, you can fold the back over like this. Make sure not to damage this cable when you do that, and then fold the hard drive over. So the hard drive is going to be like this. You can just bring it back like that, and then you're gonna flip this tab here. There's a little black tab. You're just gonna flip it up this way. So I'm gonna do that like this. Tab comes up, and then the hard drive just slips out like that. All right, once you have the hard drive off, now it's time to take off this ribbon cable here. And there's a little tab on this side, and you're just gonna flip it to the right, and that's gonna open up the clip on that. Once you do that, then the cable is easy to take off. And now I can separate them and start doing the upgrades. Now, since I'm gonna convert this into a thin back, I don't need this side anymore. I don't have to go through the trouble of taking this apart because I'm gonna use my parts iPod for that. So I'm just gonna put this to the side and use this for another project. And then I'm gonna focus on this piece for now. So I'm gonna start by taking off the faceplate. In order to do that, there are 3 screws here, 1, 2, 3 on the side and 3 on this side. And I'm simply gonna take those off and then pull the faceplate off gently. Now that I've got all the screws off, there's only one more thing to do, and that is release this cable for the LCD screen, because I'm going to take off the faceplate and I don't want that to be attached. So what I'm going to do here is flip up this little latch here, and that's going to remove the ribbon cable. Now it can be a little difficult to get in there because there isn't too much space in between the frame and this latch, but I'm just going to use this plastic tool and flip it up like that. And as you can see, that is open now. And then I can use the plastic tool to kind of pull this out. Just be very gentle. If you rip it, it's gonna cause some problems. And there we go. And that's popped out. And now I can take the faceplate off. To remove the faceplate, I'm simply gonna start peeling the faceplate back from the frame a little bit, very gently. It comes off pretty easily. There we go. Now that I have the faceplate off, I can see why there's a problem with the center button. There's this little metal piece that causes the buttons to click, and that got stuck on the inside of the button where it should be on the stuck to the PCB. So this one came off. I could either change the tape on this, or I'm just gonna get another one from my parts iPod and stick it on, but I'll save that repair for a little bit later. Now from here, I'm gonna pull out the LCD screen. You can just push it forward and slide it out like that. That looks like it's in really good shape. So I'm gonna put that on the side and use it later. I'm also gonna get the center button out of the way. Now, in order to change the click wheel, I have to remove the PCB from the frame because the ribbon cable wraps around and it attaches back here on the PCB. So I'm gonna have to remove that, otherwise I can't take it off. So to begin that process, I'm going to first pull off this little sticky part here. This is also attached to the click wheel ribbon cable, and I don't think it's important to keep it intact because I'm going to change it anyway, but I just want to make sure that it's nice and clean, and I can reattach the other one easily later. Another thing to remove is this adhesive here that's stuck to the back of the frame. This attaches to the front of the PCB, so I want to remove that before I take it apart because I don't want to rip this and cause any problems with it. All right, now as you can see, I removed the adhesive from the frame, and I'm ready to remove the logic board from the frame. Now I'm going to remove the logic board from the frame, so I'm going to gently press on this side, on the back, and it's going to slowly come off, and there's just double-sided tape on the frame, so that's what's keeping it on. So I'm just going to press on there, and it'll pop out like that. There we go. And now I have this removed, so I can start changing the click wheel. All right, in order to remove the click wheel, there is a little black tab here that I'm going to shift this way to the left. And I'm just going to pop that up like this. And there we go. And now this click wheel ribbon cable is attached to the board right here with some double stick tape. So I'm going to have to pull that off gently. And once that adhesive is off, now I can slide it out of the ribbon holder, and the click wheel is free, and I can put in the new one. Now I'm going to install the new click wheel. So I put the button in the middle there so that it stays and it's easier to install. Now I just have to remove the plastic here to expose the adhesive. Now I'm going to put this back on the logic board by sliding this into the slot first until it hits the lines. Okay, and then I'm going to press that down so the adhesive sticks. And then I'm going to put the clip back so that it secures the ribbon cable. And now it's all set. Now that I have the click wheel installed, I'm gonna put it back into the frame. I put some double stick tape on the frame here because the original double stick tape was coming off. So I'm just gonna slide this in like this. Okay, here's something I just realized after I was done recording the video, but don't make this mistake. I forgot to pull this tab out. So you wanna pull this black tab out before you put the board in and make sure it goes over the frame. So it should look like this. And then you can just put this down like that and make sure that it's contacting the frame and that this part is sticking. That back in the way it was. And then I'm going to fold this over. And then I'm going to reattach this piece right here. So it has to attach like that. There we go, now the click wheel is installed. Now I'm gonna fix the button situation. So all I did was take my donor iPod, I took off the faceplate, and I lifted up the click wheel. I pulled off one of the button clickers here, and that is just a sticker. So I just pulled that off of that one, and then I stuck it onto my project iPod, and I made sure that it stays down. And when I tap it, it clicks, and it looks like it's staying in place. So I'm gonna use that as my new button. As you can see, I also put the LCD back in, so all I have to do is make sure these tabs line up here. So on the other side, I'm just gonna put the ribbon cable back into the slot, and then I'm gonna push this down to lock it in, and then the LCD is now installed. Now it's time to put the faceplate back on, so I'm gonna flip this over, and I'm just gonna clean off the LCD screen in case there's any dust or fingerprints on it. It looks pretty clean, so I think that's good to go. Then I'm gonna take the faceplate, I'm gonna pull off this part right here, and then I'm going to pull off this black part so I can see the window here. Now I'm going to put that in there, and then I have to drop the button in there also. So I'm going to put the button in on this side. Okay, that looks like it's in, so I'm going to drop this on and hope it stays in place. Okay, there we go. It was a little tricky to get it on, but I finally got it on. The buttons work now, so it looks like it's okay. And now I'm going to just put the screws back in here and button it up. All right, so I did run into a little bit of a problem when installing this. This black border here seems to be a little bit too thick, so the screws aren't lining up on the side. So I'm just gonna pull this off and then try it that way. Okay, there we go. Once I took off that black part, then the screw holes do line up. So now I'm gonna put the screws back in and button this up. Okay, so I got all the screws in, all 6 of them are in now. And the faceplate is secure, the buttons are working well. So now I'm gonna work on the back plate of the iPod. All right, so these are the 3 back plates. I just wanna explain them really quickly so you know what's going on. So this is obviously the new one. This is the thin back plate from my donor iPod. And this is the thick one that was on my current project iPod. So this one also had a battery in it. So all I did was pry under here and pull that out. But I need to use this thinner back plate because the headphone jack is different. So if you can see, the headphone jack there, it kind of curves down, whereas the headphone jack on this one is very flat, so it's not going to fit in the thinner back. So the first thing I'm going to do on this is I'm going to pull out the dock bezel. There are simply 2 screws there that I have to remove, and then I'll just drop that into here. All right, there you go. So now you can see that I pulled it out of the old iPod back and I put it into the new one, and it's looking pretty good, as you can see there. So I'm going to do the same with the headphone jack. I'm going to pull out 1 screw there, 1 screw there, there's 1 screw there, and 1 screw here. And then there's probably some double-sided tape on this, and then I'm going to pull this tape off, and then I'm going to drop it into the new back. Okay, getting the cable out was pretty simple. I just have to be careful. I found it easy to stick my pry tool underneath the headphone jack like that, and it popped right out. And then there's a little double stick tape there, so that's something to be aware of. The hold button popped out pretty easily also, but there is also some double stick tape down here on the ribbon cable. And then I just pulled off the tape that was here. All right, so I pulled out the hold button and headphone cables, and I put a little double stick tape here, here, and here. I also took off the foam that was attached to the back plate, and I put that there with some double stick tape because that will keep this headphone jack in place. All right, so it took a little bit of fiddling, but I finally got it in. I reattached double stick tape here, here, and here, so it's all nice and tacked down now. I put the screws back in here and here and here and there. And now everything looks good. It did take a little bit of fiddling, but as you can see, it looks pretty good right now. And I think this is ready to go. A big tip when you're working on these iPods though, they have like tiny little screws. So I highly recommend getting one of these really thin tweezers because it makes it really easy to pick up the screws and then put them in the hole. All right, almost done. Just a couple more things to do. I'm gonna put in the battery now, and this battery is bigger than the original one. So it says to put the battery in like this, and then I'm gonna put the iFlash adapter on top of it. So that's how this is gonna go. So I have to attach the battery cable this way. So I'm gonna put this in the slot and then push this down to lock it in. Okay, there we go. And then it says I should fold the cable like this. From here, I'm simply gonna slide the iFlash adapter back onto the cable, and then I'm gonna push this tab forward to lock it in, and then I should be ready to test. Here is the moment of truth. I'm gonna flip this over and see if it boots up. Okay, so it's showing the screen that indicates that the hard drive is bad. So I'm gonna reseat this iFlash adapter and then see if that's the issue. Hopefully that will clear this up. This is a little frustrating. I have reseated the iFlash adapter several times in the cable. So I don't think it's an issue with the seating of the cable. I think it's something else. So it's either the iFlash adapter, which I highly doubt because this is brand new, or it could be the logic board, or it could be the cable. So the next thing I'm gonna look at is the cable. I'm just gonna pop this cable out and see if I can replace it with the one from my donor iPod. Again, that's why it's a good idea to have a donor iPod, or you could just order these separately, but the fact that I have one around is very helpful. So in order to take off this cable, I'm just gonna flip this little latch on the inside to the right, and that's gonna open it up. There we go. And then you can see the two lines on the cable, and then I can just pull this out gently. And there we go, the cable is out. All right, so I pulled out the cable from this iPod and I'm comparing it to the other cable from my donor iPod. And I don't know if you can see it very well on camera, but the cable on the right has kind of a dull finish on the gold part. Whereas on the donor cable on the left, it's much shinier. So I think that there could be some corrosion on the cable, and you could easily clean that up just by scratching it like this very gently and then putting some isopropyl alcohol on it and cleaning it off. But since I already have a donor cable here, I'm just going to use this. Again, you could buy these separately if you wanted to, but I'm just going to pop this one in and see if it makes a difference. All right, the new cable is in, so I'm going to install everything again and see what happens. Okay, now I've got everything hooked back up, so let's see if this works. Got the Apple logo. Okay, there we go. So it says connect to your computer to use iTunes to restore. So that's exactly what I want, and now I'm ready to move on to the next step. Before I close this up, I actually want to do something really quick. I'm going to put a little strip of double stick tape here so that the battery doesn't slide around on the inside, because it is a little bit loose because the cable is tucked under it. So I'm going to put that double stick tape on like this, and that'll just keep it a little bit more secure while it's in there. Now the double stick tape is installed and the battery doesn't move around when I shake it like this. So that looks good. I'm also going to put some double stick tape on the back of the iFlash adapter here so that that doesn't move around also, because that could put some stress on the cable. So I'm going to put that on there, and I might just put some Kapton tape here also so it doesn't rub on the back of the back plate. So before I close this up, I wanted to show you what I did. I just put some Kapton tape down this way so that it doesn't rub on the metal back. And then I also taped this one into place. And that is probably overkill, but I just want to be sure it doesn't come out if this gets jolted. But there's still room to stick in cards here, so no worries there. And then on the back, I put a little strip of double stick tape there. I'm going to tape it to the battery, and that will ensure that this doesn't move around and put stress on the cable. Okay, now I have to put the cable back for the headphone jack and the hold button. So I'm going to lift this up, and then I'm going to put this cable back in, and then I can start to close this up. All right, so I got the cable attached. Obviously, I should have done that beforehand, but that was a rookie mistake. And I learned something, but now I'm gonna put the battery back down and then get this all buttoned up. Now that I've got it together, it's time to close it up. Now I'm gonna use some gloves for this part because I don't wanna get fingerprints on it unnecessarily. Then I'm going to drop it directly into the case. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It shows that you can convert a thick back iPod into a thin back and get some very good results. I'll show you some weights later in terms of before and after, but now I'm going to add Rockbox on here and then start adding some songs. Now I thought it would be easy to put Rockbox on this iPod, but it wasn't as easy as I thought. So if you want to save some time, here's what you need to know. First off, if you just want to use the default iPod software, then you can use Windows or a Mac. Simply use iTunes on an older Mac, or if you have a newer Mac, just use Finder. If you want to use Windows, then you can download iTunes for Windows. The process is super easy. Just plug your iPod into your computer, use the appropriate software, and the software will do the restore for you. After that, simply unplug the iPod and you can start using it. Now, if you want to install Rockbox, I found out the hard way that that is a very specific process. In this case, you'll have to restore the iPod with iTunes on Windows and then use the Rockbox app on Windows to install Rockbox. Now, you're probably wondering, should you use the default iPod software or should you use Rockbox? Well, that really depends on what you want. The default iPod software is easier to use, it's more stable, but it also has some limitations as to how many songs you can store, and you're going to have to use iTunes or a Mac in order to manage that database. Rockbox, on the other hand, can handle as many songs as you can throw at it, and I can manage this iPod from any computer because it just shows up as a hard drive on that computer. On the downside, it does have its quirks and it's not as reliable as the default iPod software. In my case, since I have a giant SD card on this iPod, I didn't want there to be a limit as to the number of songs I could store, and that's why I went with Rockbox. Now, if you decide to use Rockbox, the default theme is pretty ugly, and there are a ton of themes out there, so it can take some time to go through them. I like the iPod Refresh 4 theme. That's been the best for me, and it really does match the blue color on my iPod. Once I've had the chance to use this iPod for a while, I'll do a long-term review on this channel on how I like it versus Spotify. But my first impression is that it's very satisfying to use. I like it because it's not Android like what's on other music players. Android is great and all, but to me it's way too complicated for a simple music player. I like that the iPod is simple, and a lot of thought went into making it easy to use. It's also oddly refreshing that when you touch the screen, nothing happens. Now, before I get into the summary of this project, links to all of the things I mentioned in this video are provided in the description below. That will help you do your own modification and create your own custom iPod. Now here's a breakdown of what the parts cost. Like I mentioned before, I got most of my parts from Elite Obsolete Electronics. It's a great place. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I don't get any kickbacks. I just think it's one of the best places to go if you want to get iPod parts. So this is what I got from them. I got the center button, I got the faceplate, wheel, backplate, and the battery. Then of course you need the iPod itself, so I would recommend going to eBay for that. You can get some pretty good deals on eBay, or you can buy them refurbished on eBay also. So it's a great resource to have. So I just searched for iPod Classic 5th generation, and these are the current options out there. Now, if you want to get a good deal, I would recommend sorting by price. So go lowest first, and you'll usually get auctions as the first listings that come up. If you want to go that route, that is the best way to get a deal because you'll get the best price. However, it will take longer because the bidding process takes some time. If you're going to go this route, I would highly recommend using a sniping website like Auction Stealer. I've been using them for years and they've been great. Again, I'm not sponsored by them. I don't get anything from them. I just use their service and I think it's great. I've been using the free service for years and it's worked well. So you don't even have to pay anything for it. I think you get up to 4 free snipes a month. So that's more than I need. If you need more, then you can always pay for the paid service. But it's great because what it does is it allows you to set your maximum bid on an auction. And about 10 seconds before the auction ends, it will submit the next highest bid for that auction. So you'll never go over your maximum price that you want to pay, and you're never bidding against yourself because you're only bidding 10 seconds before the auction ends. On top of that, you can set up bidding groups. So if you win one auction in that group, it'll cancel the bids for the rest of the auctions in that group, which is great if you just want to find one iPod. If you don't want to do this yourself, then you can always get refurbished iPods either from eBay or from Elite Obsolete. Here is the current pricing on their 5th and 5.5 generation iPods. So if you want to go 128, that's the current cost. This is for 512, and that's the 2000 milliamp hour battery. And then if you want to go all out and go 1 terabyte, then that's how much they're currently charging. This is great because you don't have to do any work. Now, there are a few more things I had to get for this project. One of them was the SD card, and that's the current pricing. And you might only need one of these smaller SD cards, so that could be perfect for you. Next up is the iFlash card. This is what it looks like and where I got it from. I tried to get it from Elite Obsolete, but they were out of stock, so I had to go to Amazon. Next up is the clear protective case, and this is about how much they run. I would highly recommend reading the reviews on each one because the quality does seem to vary, so I would check that out before you buy. I also had to get a cable because I didn't have one, so this is what they're going for. I would highly recommend getting a USB-C to 30-pin adapter like this one, and that will make it much easier if you have a more modern computer. You could also go to thrift stores, and they sometimes have cables available, and you can pick up one of these cables for $1 or $2. That's a great way to stock up on cables. But if you want something brand new and something more reliable and more durable, I would highly recommend getting something like this. And remember, there is a link provided in the description below to all of these parts and the resources. And one more thing before I wrap up the parts section, Elite Obsolete Electronics also has a bunch of other stuff that you can get. Pretty much any part that you need for your iPod. So as you can see here, you can even get the logic board, you can get screws, you can get a new screen, the buttons, pretty much anything. So if you go to their website and you look under the 5th generation or 5.5 enhanced, this is all the stuff that you can get. So they have everything you need and everything can be replaced. Okay, here are the before and after weights in case you're interested. Before the modification, this iPod weighed 5.5 ounces or 154 grams. It now weighs 4.9 ounces or 140 grams. And that might not seem like much of a difference, but it is noticeable when I carry it in my hand. Back in the day, I used to have the original 6th generation iPod Classic, and that was all metal, and I found that it was a little too heavy to carry in my pocket. It was a little bit cumbersome, but this modified 5th generation is much easier to carry, and I barely feel it in my pocket. Since the lighter weight also comes with an increase in storage capacity and battery capacity, this modification is a no-brainer in my opinion. Now that I have the iPod that I've always wanted, I'm going to use it for 30 days instead of Spotify to see if it's better than streaming. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see how that experiment goes. Now I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you only using a music player? Do you prefer streaming? And why? Thanks for watching, and check out the video that's coming up next.